My name is Aaron Vine. This is the Group 5 presentation in Business 110DR. Our presentation today is about the North American Free Trade Agreement, which is a trade agreement between the United States, Canada, and Mexico. The agreement was initially conceptualized in 1990 by then U.S. President George W. Bush, Canadian Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, and Mexican President Carlos Salinas. Each nation wanted to be able to trade and invest in the other two nations without unnecessary red tape, and NAFTA was conceived as a way to accomplish this goal. The agreement was met with a great amount of pushback in Canada, however, and in their 1988 elections it was the #1 issue. In the following years, as their political environment changed, so did the people responsible for passing legislation that would ultimately lead to the agreement being signed. Before the Canadians would pass the agreement, they wanted certain provisions, mostly related to worker and environmental protections, put into effect. Another separate agreement, the North American Agreement on Environmental Cooperation, was needed in order to address the environmental impact NAFTA could possibly have. Without this other agreement, NAFTA would not be in effect today. While President Bush pushed for this agreement in our own nation, it was ultimately Bill Clinton who signed it into law. NAFTA was signed by President Clinton on December 8th, 1993, and went into effect on January 1st, 1994. President Clinton said as he was signing the bill, "We will make our case as hard as well as we can, and though the fight will be difficult, I deeply believe we can win." And I'd like to tell you why. First of all, because NAFTA means jobs, American jobs, and good paying American jobs. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't support this agreement. The primary purpose of NAFTA is to allow trade and investment between all three nations to occur without barriers getting in the way. Many tariffs between Mexico and the U.S. were immediately phased out, with plans to completely remove all tariffs after 10 years. While Canada and the U.S. already had a similar agreement in place that had done away with the tariffs already. In settings in all three nations, it's considered important to arrive on time, but particularly so in the U.S. Americans see punctuality as a way to measure someone's character. A person who shows up early was seen as a good person who could be relied upon, while someone who shows up late will be seen as someone who can't be counted on. In Canada, you're also expected to show up on time. In areas where the population is mostly French, this rule is relaxed, but visitors are still expected to be on time, even if the French hosts do not. Mexico is slightly more relaxed than the other two nations in regards to punctuality for business meetings. It's not uncommon for them to cancel business meetings or show up late. This isn't intended as an insult, it's just how they conduct themselves. Mexicans will also not consider plans as confirmed with Americans until they know that person is in Mexico.
Hi, my name is David Murril. As Aaron pointed out, the North American Free Trade Agreement is very important to the economies of the United States, Mexico, and Canada. For Americans doing business with these countries, it is vital that they respect their cultural uniqueness, as not doing so could be very embarrassing and worse yet, a deal breaker. Two such cultural awareness items are proper business attire and using correct social and business etiquette. Your business attire is a reflection of you. If you dress inappropriately to a culture, it could show a lack of respect. For Mexico, appropriate attire and appearance are very important to their people during business, social gatherings, and events. American men doing business in Mexico should wear a conservative dark suit in navy or gray and a tie. Use a white or light blue shirt. Use white for formal events. For casual events, wear dress pants and a light shirt with an open collar. Jeans are generally not appropriate for men or women. American women should wear a blouse with pants or a skirt. A classic suit may be also worn. Tight or low-cut clothing is never appropriate. In Canada, older classic clothing that is neat, clean, and pressed is more valued. In Canada, older classic clothing that is neat, clean, and pressed is more valued. In doing business, men should wear a dark, classic business suit in navy, gray, with a tie, and a shirt in white or light blue. Women should wear a conservative business suit or dress in navy, gray, ivory, or white. New or trendy clothing is a poor choice and should be avoided. Professional casual attire is appropriate for non-formal social business events. The weather in Canada can be very cold, so overcoats, hats, and neck scarves are appropriate. Proper etiquette for Americans doing business in Mexico. Men shake hands upon meeting and leaving. Men should not initiate handshakes with women. Women may shake hands with men or other women. Instead of a handshake, Mexican women may also pat another woman's shoulder, forearm, or may kiss a woman on the cheek. Eye contact should be maintained infrequently, as staring too much is considered rude. Mexicans may make little eye contact. This is a sign of respect and should not be taken wrong. Standing with your hands on your hips suggests aggressiveness. and keeping your hands in your pockets is impolite. Do not throw documents on the table when negotiating, as it is considered rude. Do not make the okay hand gesture in Mexico. It is considered vulgar. Conversations take place at a close physical distance. Stepping back may be regarded as unfriendly. Mexican men are warm and friendly and will make a lot of physical contact. They may touch or put their hands on your shoulder or even hold your arm. Pulling back may be considered insulting. Proper etiquette for Americans doing business in Canada. A firm handshake with good eye contact is important during business meetings. In Canada, men will wait for a woman to extend her hand for a handshake. Don't be boastful, and don't overstate your product or service capabilities. Don't say "we Americans," inferring you are including your Canadian hosts. Do not eat while walking in public, especially if you are walking with your Canadian business clientele. Always maintain a reserved demeanor, and gracious manners are part of the Canadian business culture.
My name is Emily Apgar, and I'll be discussing NAFTA business transactions and legal dispute resolution. Canada and Mexico are our first and third largest trading partners, which accounts for 32.2% of the United States exports. Canada and Mexico are our largest exports market that makes for small and medium-sized business across America. Before NAFTA, small and medium-sized businesses had a difficult time reaching Canadian markets due to regulations. Large businesses simply set up their own offices in Mexico and Canada to negate these regulations. Since NAFTA's enactment, profit from trades among NAFTA countries has increased by 218% and it continues to rise. Mexican consumers purchase more items in the United States than they do from other countries. The main exported goods to Mexico and Canada are electrical machinery, vehicles, mineral fuels, oil, and plastics. Companies who wish to trade through NAFTA must be able to prove that their product originated from their respective country. A product traded through NAFTA must not use foreign parts, components, or raw materials unless it is within an allowable percentage. Legal disputes are very rare because NAFTA operates with clear and established rules. When disputes do occur, there are 4 chapters which detail how particular disputes are handled, such as dumping and financial conflicts. Chapter 20, which defines how general disputes are resolved, uses a 3-step process. First step, disputing parties formally discuss disagreement. If step 1 doesn't work, a free trade commission meeting will be held with ministers from NAFTA. If step 2 hasn't resolved the issue, a party may request a panel to review the dispute and issue a decision. Disputes may also be handled privately, creating an ADR, alternative dispute resolution, which includes contracts, mediation, and arbitration. Canada has seen a rise of investor-state disputes due to Canada's stricter environmental policies, which ban certain substances that Mexico and the United States don't strictly regulate. Disputes regarding their environmental policies account for 63% of all claims that has cost Canada $65 million in legal fees and settlements.
Hi, my name is Elsha Hartmann. I'm presenting food and recreation and age and gender issues amongst Canadian, Mexican, and U.S. business people. Connection and entertainment among international business people is meaningful, and it's especially important in Mexican business dealings to develop a personal relationship with your host business. When eating and being entertained, it's important that women don't give speeches. It's against Mexican custom. The U.S. and Canada accept women offering toasts. It's also critical in the Mexican culture to acknowledge everyone in the room with eye contact or physical contact, because not doing so is considered bad manners. Popular entertainment in Mexico includes soccer, lucha libres, which is Mexican wrestling, socializing with friends and family, and listening and dancing to great music. Popular Mexican dishes vary by region and individual circumstances, but some of the more widely enjoyed foods include tortillas, enchiladas, cornmeal tortillas, burritos, soft-shell tacos, tortas, stuffed chili peppers, and quesadillas. Meals are often washed down with aguas frescas, watery sweet drinks, usually chilled, and horchata, a rice-based milk drink. It is common and expected in American business for the host to toast the business, when the visiting business is expected to give a toast of thanks. Americans love meat, including, but not limited to, sausage, beef, pork, chicken, and turkey. Americans also love sandwiches, pasta, sweets, and Thanksgiving dinner. In America, popular entertainment still includes music, sports, and movies, and at times outdoor adventures. Canadian business entertainment is common as well, but the focus usually remains on business. The person who invites is normally expected to pay, as with American cultural customs. Popular dishes in Canada include game meats, salmon, oysters, Nova Scotia lobster, recipes using maple syrup, butter tarts, and bacon. Canadians enjoy sports as well, but more specifically hockey and lacrosse, and also love outdoor adventures. Gender and age at times can create conflict in business situations, and it's important to understand the cultural expectations behind each hosting country's expectations. In today's international business climate, it's more important than ever to understand cultural diversity in the workplace. Business interactions between people from different cultures and customs can be challenging, and failure to understand these nuances can negatively impact your success. In Mexico, where machoism exists, women should prepare for difficulty when doing business because some Mexican professionals have not encountered women who have positions of authority. Foreign businessmen should also remember that you should bow to a Mexican woman, and though a handshake is proper, men should wait for the woman to extend her hand first. Handshakes are also acceptable greetings with American and Canadian businesswomen, but keep in mind that the American businesswoman is very independent and doesn't want help offered for something they feel they can accomplish themselves. Respect of seniority is important in most business structures, and the US and Canadian business structures also value vertical hierarchy and status, but it's especially important in Mexico, which is a highly stratified society and high context society, where status and rank are extremely crucial. It's important to show deference to people of status and seniority, as well as to the elderly. One way this is done is by displaying a certain degree of formality.
And I'm going to be talking about gender roles and basic phrases when conducting business between Mexico, Canada, and the US. So in all three countries, both men and women are very much in the workforce. It's not uncommon nowadays to see just as much women as there are men in the workforce, but there are slight variations between each country. In Canada, the role of workforce is still not as predominant as men, and there is a slight power struggle. For instance, if you are a woman in the workforce in Canada, it is not uncommon for you to not make as much eye contact as a man would. What people who are conducting business with those women in Canada need to remember is that it's not disrespect, it's just them feeling inferior and not wanting to offend you. Women are still paid less in business compared to men for doing the same jobs, and that is a problem in all three countries. Mexico is, again, slightly different than Canada and the US. Mexico, the women are very respected. You are to treat a woman with respect, but in the business world, men are still dominant compared to women. The other problem that each country has is that women are not taken as seriously as men in some situations. It's not all situations, thankfully. We've come a long way from the 50s and 60s, but women are the ones who are victims to a lot of sexual harassment in the workplace, and when problems are brought up by a woman, they're not taken as seriously as a problem brought up by a man. And now on to basic phrases. So in all three countries, when you are conducting business with each other, you want to show respect to the person you are meeting with. In Mexico, when you meet someone, you say hola. When you are conducting business in Mexico, you greet someone by saying hola señor or hola señora. Conducting business in Mexico, the Spanish word for you is tú, but that is an informal version. So when you are conducting business, you want to say usted. That is the formal version of you. So when conducting business in Mexico, Canada, and the US, it's not uncommon for people to shake hands. Men and men can actually give a hug if they want. Women and women can also hug, but they tend to shake hands and then kiss on one cheek, like David had already said in his presentation. When it is men and women greeting each other, then you need to be careful about what you do because you can come across as offensive or even flirtatious at times. something that's really common to do, especially in Canadian and Hispanic cultures when meeting someone, including in a business environment, is to talk about one's family. It opens up a warm-hearted relationship that could make them feel easier around you and will make a business transaction go way smoother. Something to avoid when you are talking to anyone in any business environment, but especially in the Hispanic culture, is do not bring up racial roots. This can be very offensive and can hit some nerves. Another thing, especially in Canadian business transactions and US, you want to avoid sarcasm at all costs. It is not professional, but if you are conducting business with a Mexican businessman or woman, they love a good joke. So if they throw a good joke, a funny joke your way, don't be offended. That's just what they will do to make the flow of things go smoother and make it feel more at ease for everyone. Thank you for listening to our presentation, and we hope we gave you a better insight as to how NAFTA conducts business between Mexico, Canada, and the US.